Hello and welcome to this short clinical refresher about GI upsets and specifically diarrhea in older dogs as part of the Make Senior Easier materials. I probably don't have to tell you that GI upsets are common. Nearly 1 in 5 dogs that you see will be due to something GI related. Many of those are due to loose stools, and it's been shown that diarrhea is more common in younger and older dogs. Causes can be varied though, so where do you start investigating? As with most cases, a good history is key, and a few of the pertinent points we're going to want to know about are shown here. The differentials are further narrowed down once you know the duration of the diarrhea. There is some overlap, but acute cases have much more common etiologies. Dietary and stress-related causes are by far the most common in your typical regularly wormed pet dog. Chronic cases tend to be more likely to have an infectious or dysfunction route, but dietary causes should remain high on the differentials list if the start of the diarrhea coincided with a diet change. Don't underestimate the effect of chronic stress also. There are a whole host of diagnostic routes that you can take to investigate diarrhea, and many will depend on the patient history. But a good place to start is fecal analysis and blood sampling, particularly in chronic cases or dogs that don't have an obvious cause for diarrhea in their history. These tests are relatively non-invasive, often easy to achieve in-house, can be performed on the day, and can give nicely broad clinical information. In some cases, the history or previous test results might make visualization of the GI tract a logical next step. Both structure and function can be assessed with ultrasound or barium studies, and endoscopy can allow samples to be collected for histopathology to look for abnormalities at a cellular level. When it comes to treating diarrhea, there are 4 main treatment pillars to think about. The first is usually the one that the clients care about the most. The second is really important, as disturbance of the microbiome can cause diarrhea, and diarrhea causes disturbance of the microbiome, so rebalancing this bacterial population is important to avoid a catch-22 spiral. Choosing a product to achieve this can be difficult, but key points to look out for are live bacteria that are host species specific, and we'll cover more about this later. For many cases, managing intestinal inflammation is important to address the discomfort of the GI upset. Particularly in chronic cases, it can be hugely important to make the dog feel better. Then, of course, you need to treat the underlying cause. In many cases, this will be simply allowing time for whatever caused the upset to pass. In other cases, specific therapeutics or processes will be required. It all depends on the etiology. So going back to the microbiome, this population of microorganisms living in the gut is often overlooked, but as explained is a vital foundation for gut health. As well as providing protective and digestive functions locally within the gut, the intestinal microbiome has far-reaching effects across the body, including protecting against obesity via immune and hormonal regulation, cognitive effects, and skin health. As you can appreciate, the alterations to the intestinal microbiome, or dysbiosis, has implications to many body functions. There are quite a lot of things that can cause an imbalance too. Whatever passes through the gut has the potential to modify the local gut environment, and so affect the microorganism population. The gut not functioning correctly will have the same effect. And drugs specifically targeted at bacteria will, of course, inadvertently affect some of the microbiome bacteria too, causing an imbalance. And stress is also another big influencer as the body adapts to manage the perceived threat. But the most immediately visible outcome of intestinal dysbiosis is diarrhea, as the imbalance in the population of microorganism species adversely affects the microbiome's digestive function. Imbalance can occur naturally though. As dogs age, it's been shown that indigenous lactobacillus species numbers decline. This may be a contributing factor to why GI upsets are more common in older dogs. Another period of natural alteration is during pregnancy, when sometimes dramatic but transient changes can occur in the intestinal microbiome. So supporting the intestinal microbiome is a good idea, but are all GI support products the same? And the simple answer is no. There are a few aspects that you can use to decide which is most appropriate to use in your cases. It's been shown that intestinal bacteria introduced to the gut adhere and therefore populate the gut better if they're introduced to the same host species that they came from. Basically, gut bacteria from a dog grows best in another dog. Most commercial GI support products are avian or porcine in origin. Live bacteria is another biggie as they multiply and populate, which not only helps provide the commensal bacteria mentioned earlier, but also activates the immune system against pathogens, all without causing disease themselves, of course. And finally, the bacterial species matters. You want a bacterial species that gives you the best bang for your buck. Lactobacillus species not only provide a commensal barrier and immune activation, they also exclude pathogens by other mechanisms, including inhibition and displacement. They also present no risk whatsoever of inadvertently perpetuating any antimicrobial resistance genes, as the lactobacillus genome doesn't readily accept foreign DNA. All this was the basis for the creation of Animalcare. It contains 3 live lactobacillus species, originally isolated from dogs, and is the only canine bacterial GI support product available in the UK with host species-specific bacteria. Animalcare is available in a convenient powder format that can be sprinkled on food or mixed with water or even be syringed, so it's really easy to use, making it an easy choice. This short CPD is part of a whole suite of materials designed to make senior easier for older pets. Visit the PAC website for the full range.